I know most of you guys need this like a drowning person needs a life raft. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this quickly. So here's what you're going to learn. Why learning to sell and close is the #1 skill to doing more deals and making more money. That, I believe, is what you guys all want, right? You all want to do more deals and make more money? Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, right? How to close like a pro, the 7-step professional sales process, how to handle objections, and then we're going to walk through the example closing techniques that I use and that you can use in that you can implement immediately today in all of your prospecting ventures, whether you're doing wholesaling or contract assignments or subject to or owner finance or straight cash purchases, no matter what it is. We're going to walk you through that and how to handle the objections and then how to actually close. So let's talk about why learning to sell and close is the #1 skill to doing more deals and making more money. First, and this is so unbelievably overlooked by most people, every business is in the sales business. Every business. You've never heard of any business going out of business because of too many sales. No, you've heard the exact opposite, right? Why do businesses go out of business? They don't have enough sales, right? You've never heard anybody going out of business because they had too many sales. Every time two people get together, whether it's business or not, a sale is made. Either you sell them or they sell you. The key is to understand it when it happens and to learn to master it so that you are the person selling, not being sold. What's the one thing you always want more of in business? It's more sales, right? Yet amazingly, this is not the core foundation, the very first thing that people are generally taught when they get into the business realm or into real estate or real estate investing or anything else. They're not taught how to professionally sell and close, but we're going to go ahead and bridge that gap today. And improving your closing ratio means you spend less money and less time on marketing and you burn up fewer leads. I mean, what's the cost of one lead that you generate? If you're doing any type of paid marketing or advertising, sending out mailers, anything like that, what is the cost to you and the time and money and effort that you put in to generate that lead to then lose it because you're inept at sales or not completely professionally trained or something happened that you couldn't handle? What is the cost of doing that? And how many times have you done that? How many deals have you lost because you didn't know how to close them? Here's the problem. This is the one thing that the real estate gurus don't teach. It's sales. It's the very first thing I always teach, because once you've got the core foundation of sales and closing ability down, it translates and transfers over to any industry, not just real estate. You could go sell software. You could go sell vacation packages, sell widgets. It doesn't matter. Once you're proficient at selling and closing, you're going to make money in any industry that you go into. So what they do instead of teaching you how to sell and to close is they tell you to spend money on systems, spend money on marketing, generate leads that you are not prepared to handle. It's an exercise in futility. And people follow these programs and these courses and they spend the money over and over and over again on the next bright, shiny object when what they're looking for, the thing that they're missing, is only one thing. It's not some big fangled new system, some magic pill that somebody's got. The core thing that they're missing is how to sell and close. The beautiful thing is that sales is a process that can be taught. Okay, it absolutely can be taught. I was taught how to sell and close. You can be taught how to sell and close. Anybody can be taught how to sell and close. So the question is, if this is the most paramount thing to any business anywhere, why is it they don't teach it? And the answer is that most of them have never been professionally trained and quite frankly don't know it. They're playing a numbers game. They're throwing darts at a dartboard. They're oversaturating markets without pre-qualified leads to bring all these leads in so that they can, basically have you do the exact same thing to bring in more leads than they can handle. And, through strictly just an equation of eventually somebody's going to say yes, they get to getting deals done. And that's not the way you want to be. Okay. So What they do instead of teaching you how to sell and close is they befuddle you with setting up all these systems, right? Everybody's got their system and they're this and their CMS that you're CRM that you got to set up, and Podio and Zoho and all these other things that they want to make you waste time setting up before you do the most important fundamental thing, and that is to learn how to sell and close. Because the second that you learn how to sell and close, you can immediately get on the phone or go live face-to-face with a prospect and start making money. That is why it is the very first thing that I ever teach people in any business that I'm doing, because it is absolutely key. Systems are wonderful. I have a lot of systems. I use a lot of automation. I use Podio myself. I use a lot of other things that integrate to help automate and scale businesses, but without an ability to close and to convert and close, it's all wasted, because there's no prospects that are going in. There's no closings that are happening. There's no funding that's happening as a result of all of that automation and scaling and lead generation. That's not what you want to do. So they teach you how to set these systems up, right? All these processes. And the whole purpose of that is to do what? To generate leads, right? You want to generate leads. Problem is, you don't know what to do with them. You're not qualified to handle them. You haven't taken them through the process. You don't know the process most of the time. You haven't taken them through the process to get them pre-qualified. We'll go through all that here in a second, but you haven't taken them through the process to pre-qualify them, to build rapport, right? To present what you've got, whatever you're doing, whether it's in real estate or real estate investing or whatever, to then, take them through the trial close process, handle the objections, and close them out, right? You don't know how to do that yet in most cases. So leads come in, and guess what? Leads go right back out, and somebody else is going to get them. And guess who's going to get them? The guy that can close, or the girl that can close. That's who's going to get them. But the beautiful thing is it's going to be taught. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to do what most people do, all right? They want to get into business, and they think that they're some sort of professional, but not really professional at all, because they've never taken the time to get professionally trained on the most important facet component there is in any business, and that is how to sell, right? The way that you sell and you close like a pro is education and practice, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Constant education and practice to understand what it is that you're doing, and then practice to the point that you're completely polished and never get flustered in any environment. So here's the normal reaction to being what I call awakened to reality. And the reality is that no, you're not going to go out there and make 6 or 7 figures without learning how to sell and close. Okay. You're not going to do it consistently. And if you get lucky enough and fall into something, the problem is that eventually the markets are going to shift. Something's going to change. And without having developed that skill set, you go from making money to being broke and having to start over with no real core foundation of how to do that. Once you've learned how to sell and close, you can transfer it to any industry. Doesn't make a difference. Okay. So this is what most people do. I get this all the time on the coaching side. Oh, I want to make 6 figures and I want to be self-employed. And I say, great, you'll have to master selling and closing. And here we go. Sounds like a lot of work to me. I'm out of here. And that's what most people do, because they don't want to learn how to sell and close. What they want to do in most cases is take the easy path, which doesn't exist. Certainly not to be making $600,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year. It doesn't exist. There's no easy path for that. And they want to buy a course. They want to attend some seminars or webinars or whatever, and feel like they've got now an annuity that's going to pay them out $10,000 plus per month without them having to do anything, without them having to come out of their comfort zone, without them having to learn. They simply think that they're going to implement some system that's going to be a cash money machine. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way for me or for anybody else. So let's talk about education. Why is this so important? Well, to be continuously successful in anything requires continual education and continual practice. And the way I like to relate this to is this. Did Michael Jordan ever stop learning and practicing even after winning multiple NBA titles? Absolutely not. Come on. Take a look at the professional athletes. They're at the top of their game. Do they ever stop watching film, learning new plays, learning new routes, learning new defenses, practicing on a daily basis? No, they don't ever. through the course of their career, they never stop learning and they never stop practicing. And if that's what professionals do, why aren't you doing that? That's the key thing that most people don't ever ask themselves. They're busy working, they got families, they got this. But to get the results that you're looking for, you're going to have to get educated. All right. Most people don't want to read. I understand that. We're in the digital world now. It's all video and Facebook and Twitter and all this. But unfortunately, you're going to have to get yourself educated to some new things that perhaps some other people aren't doing. And then once you've done that and you've been initiated, which you're about to be right here in just a few minutes, you have to practice. And people don't want to practice. All right. Nobody wants to practice. But practice makes perfect, right? Isn't that right? Yes, no, I don't know. What is he saying? He's saying, no, false. Practice makes permanent. And in the sales arena, that's exactly what it does. Practice makes you not only perfect, but it also makes it permanently ingrained in your mind so that when you get an objection, and you're going to get a lot of objections in sales, and objections are a good thing, right? They signify interest. When those things happen, you have to be prepared and able to deal with them. And the only way that you're going to be prepared and able to deal with them effectively, and let me make this say this a different way, cost effectively, so that you're not burning up leads unnecessarily, is to practice. So I'm going to tell you what I did. When I first got professionally trained on sales, I was taken by a company and flown up to Greensboro, North Carolina, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And we sat for, I think it was a week, being taught professional sales closing. Best training I've ever had. Absolutely fantastic. They took us through the bulls, owls, lambs, and tigers, 4 buying personality types, took us through a DISC profile so we could understand our own personality types, and then understand the different personality types that we would come across in sales. And you need to understand this because not everybody's the same, and the exact same approach doesn't work with everyone. So you can be like a telemarketer and use the same spiel every single time, right? Which is not going to work. Or you can be a chameleon and understand who it is, but this only comes from education now. Understand the personality type that you're talking to, and then modify your approach. And this happens real time when you're talking to them, when you're face to face with them. You have to modify your approach based on their personality type. Not yours, not the pitch that you've got, not the script that you have. None of that stuff matters. You have to be able to modify yourself based on the person that you're talking to. More importantly, you have to be able to identify the personality type that you're talking to. And if you guys have never been through any personality profile training, you're way behind the 8 ball, because you need to understand what makes these people tick. When we get into further webinars and we talk about the 4 different buying personality types, and if you ever take the what's called the BOLT test, you'll understand how imperative it is to understand personality types and who you're dealing with, because everyone has to, each one of the 4 have to be sold differently. There's a different approach that works with each one of them, but if you don't know what that is, guess what you're probably doing? What everybody else is doing. Same approach, same pitch every single time. And if that's the case, your closing ratio is nowhere near what it should be. So here's what I did. Once I got professionally trained, okay, I still didn't have any real world experience. I was professionally trained at that point. I then got another guy that was in the office who was a master closer. And I had sat with him and shadowed him and watched him close and close and close and close. And I saw this guy get hit with every objection known to man. And every time he got hit with an objection, the price is too high, it's this, it's that, it's whatever, I don't like that color, he had just like it was like a robot. He didn't get flustered, didn't twitch, didn't flinch, nothing. The response to that objection just rolled right off his tongue. People got the answer they were looking for, and they whipped out their checkbooks, and he made money. And I said, that's what I want to be able to do. Handle those objections when they come like that, right? So I told the guy, I said, listen, what I want you to do is every time we pass by each other in the office, out on the lot, whatever anytime we're on the phone, whatever, I want you to, out of the blue, hit me with an objection. Okay, I won't know what's coming. I don't know what objection you're going to hit me with, but I want you just to hit me with an objection. catch me off guard so that I can become as proficient at dealing with the objections as you are. And I got out 3x5 cards and I wrote every objection down, and I wrote on the back of the 3x5 card the answer to that. And I just wrote like flashcards, like being back in school. I went over them and repeated them and ingrained them in my mind until the point in time that I had to memorize and had repeated them verbally so many times that when I said it, didn't sound scripted. It was conversational. It all made sense. Now, did he bust me? He busted me a bunch of times. I mean, I felt like, and here I was making money, but I felt like the new kid on the block, just getting, beat up left and right, because every time, for the first few weeks, I mean, he would catch me off guard and I would stutter and I would stammer and I wouldn't have it down pat and wouldn't have it fluid, but that's what it took. And I had to make the ultimate decision. Is it worth it to go through that, to put myself through that practice that, if you want to call it embarrassment, I wasn't really embarrassed. I was new. And, you're sure still embarrassed. You don't want to mess up. You don't want to look like an idiot, but that's what it took. Okay. And through that continual practice and through every time he would catch me and like I wouldn't get it right, what I would do. And I tell my own coaching clients this very same thing. Anytime you're working on a deal, anytime you're dealing with a prospect and they hit you with something that you can't handle, you don't know how to handle it. Okay. Could be anything. Could be the price objection. Could be closing objections. Could be anything. Anytime they hit you with something that you're not prepared for, any type of objection, you need to, when you're off that call, write that objection down on a 3x5 card, figure out what the answer is. Talk to me or talk to somebody else that can give you the way to handle that objection. And then you don't proceed with another lead or another prospect until you've mastered the ability to handle that objection. And if you do that, you will become as proficient as I am, as proficient as Brian Tracy is, as proficient as Grant Cardone is in dealing with people, handling objections, and closing. But if you don't do that, you're going to be exactly where you are right now. And that's not where you want to be. You want to be continuously moving forward and progressing. It's going to take practice. You're going to have to get your teeth kicked in. Okay. And is that pleasant? No. But do you want to make, 2, 3, 4, 500,000 a year, $1 million a year? If that's what you want to do, then this is what you're going to have to learn. This is what most people won't do because it's hard, right? Nobody wants to get out of their comfort zone. Nobody wants to look like a fool. Nobody wants to have to work and practice. And oh my God, I have to read something. And I have to start reading every single day on my industry and my craft, and learning how to sell and close, and learning how to, massage and structure these deals so that when I get zapped with some sort of objection, I have an ability verbally to handle the objection, but I also have the creativity to understand what else I can do to not give away the farm, still make a profit, put together a win-win deal. You have to get yourself in those positions. Otherwise, what ends up happening is that somebody balks at your offer, your price is too high, and you don't know where to go with that. And if once you lower the price, because, okay, well, we'll lower the price to this, then guess what? Then they know that your price was fraudulent to begin with, and they feel like you've lied to them or deceived them or attempted to deceive them and defraud them. And then it never stops and they want more and more and more. And you have to be able to handle the price. The price objection is the number one objection to handle, period, in any type of sales environment, because it's the only thing people know instinctively to object to, right? So after practicing, let's talk about this. We're going to talk about what you're going to practice.